Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to this educational video. My name is Siti Murdrika Turahmah, and I am a student from Pamulang University, majoring in tax accounting. Today, I will talk about a very important topic, the current political system in Indonesia. I'm here with our guest lecturer, Mr. Wadroki, who teacher the Civic Education Pendidikan Keluarga Negaraan course. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us today. I'm working on an interview assessment and I'm taking the topic of the current political system in Indonesia. And I hope gain deeper insight from your experts.
Okay, good evening, Siti Mutrika. I'm happy to have Indonesia's political system is very rich and dynamic topic. So feel free to ask anything you need.
To start, could you give a comprehensive overview of Indonesia's current political system?
Certainly, Indonesia adopts a democratic political system with a presidential model. In this system, the president is both the head of state and the head of government. Our political structure is based on the 1945 Constitution, which has which has undergone several amendments to strengthen democratic powers. Indonesia uses a multi-party system, meaning various political parties compete for influence, legislative seats, and executive positions. This diversity often leads to coalition building, negotiation, and compromise in policymaking. In theory, the executive, legislative, and judicial branch operate under a check and balance machine to prevent concentration of power.
How do you see the development of Indonesia democracy since the reform era in 1998?
Indonesia has made significant progress since the reform era. We now have free general elections, greater freedoms of expression, a more active civil society, and decentralized governance. However, our democracy is often categorized as a flawed democracy. Challenges such as political polarization, money politics, weak law enforcement, and the rise of identity politics still hinder democratic consolidation. But overall, Indonesia continues to move forward, and democratic norms have become more embedded in society compared to the past.
Many people question the effective of the parliament. What is your perspective on this?
The DPR has three main roles: legislation, budgeting, and oversight. However, its effectiveness is often debated. Some laws are criticized for lacking public participation or being rushed. Corruption cases involving members of parliament have also and its public trust. Additionally, political bargaining among parties sometimes slows down decision making. On the positive side, some DPR members work digitally and push for reform. So it's not entirely negative, it's mixed picture.
Uh, how would you describe the relationship between the president and the DPR?
Okay, Siti, the relationship can be described bit as pragmatic, since the president needs legislative support to pass programs and budgets. Coalition building is essential. Meanwhile, political parties want influence and access to decision making. This mutual dependence can be productive, but it can also weaken the oversight function if the DPR becomes too aligned with the government.
How important is the judicial branch in maintaining Indonesia political stability?
It plays a critical role. The constitutional code ensures that laws remain aligned with the constitution and resolves election disputes. The Supreme Court handles legal cases involving state officials. A strong and independent judiciary is essential to prevent abuse of power and ensure democratic accountability. However, the judicial system also faces internal challenges regarding integrity and transparency.
Elections in Indonesia are known to be extremely complex. What challenges do we face?
Indonesia holds one of the world's largest simultaneous elections. Voters must be choose the president, DPR members, DPD representatives, and local legislators on the same day. The logistical challenges are immense: millions of ballots, remote regions, natural barriers, and human errors. There are also issues like misinformation, vote buying, political intimidation, and the physical exhaustion of election workers. The open list of proportional representation system also increases competition within the same party, which leads to high political costs of candidates.
Some people argue that political parties in Indonesia lack strong ideology clarity. What is your opinion?
I agree that many parties tend to be pragmatic rather than ideological. Party platform often appear similar, and decision making is heavily influenced by party elites instead of grassroots participation. Internal democracy within parties is still weak. This situation leads to the rise of political dynasties and makes leadership regeneration difficult. Political parties need major reforms to strengthen their credibility and represent people's interests more effectively.
Do the political dynasty pose a threat to democracy?
They can be problematic if they limit equal access to political opportunities. When power becomes concentrated within a family or group, it risks undermining meritocracy. However, the presence of dynasties is not always negative. If individuals win election through fire competition and demonstrate competence. Then the public still has the final say. The key is ensuring that elections remain free, fair, and competitive.
Corruption seems to be a recurring issue. How does it impact the political system?
Corruption severely damages public trust and weakens institutions. It affects policy making, reduces the government effectiveness, and increases inequality. The high cost of politics for campaign activities, party operations, and branding networks creates incentives for corrupt practice. Will anti-corruption agencies like the KPK have had successes? Corruption remain deeply rooted. It is one of the biggest challenges for Indonesia's democratic development.
What is the role of the media in Indonesian politics?
The media serves as an important bridge between the government and the public. It informs, educates, and monitors government action. However, media ownership in Indonesia is concentrated among a few political and economic elites, which can compromise neutrality. Meanwhile, digital media and social platforms allow greater freedom of expression but also facilitate the spread of hoax and basic narratives. Therefore, media literacy becomes essential for the public.
How does technology influence political behavior today?
Technology, especially social media, has transformed political engagement. People can access information instantly and voice their opinions widely. However, algorithms algorithm can create echo chambers that reinforce political bias. Misinformation spread rapidly, affecting public perception and even election outcomes. Politicians also use digital platforms from targeted campaign. Therefore, while technology enhances democratic participation, it also brings new risks that must be addressed through digital literacy and regulation.
How do you view the political involvement of young people?
Young people today are more politically aware than ever. They actively discuss social issues, participate in movements, and express their view online. However, direct involvement in formal political institutions, such as joining political parties or civic organizations, is still limited. More structural opportunities are needed for youth to participate meaningfully in policymaking and leadership process.
Uh, how would you evaluate the government's responsive to public issue?
In certain areas, such as infrastructure, digital information, and public service, delivery, the government has shown good responsiveness, but challenges remain in policy communication, transparency, and bureaucratic efficiency. Sometimes public concerns are not addressed quickly enough, leading to distrust. Improving coordination between ministries, reducing red tape, and promoting data-driven political policymaking can help enhance government responsiveness.
Considering Indonesia vast diversity, is national political integration still a challenge?
Absolutely, Indonesia consists of thousands of islands and hundreds of ethnic groups. Regional disparities in development, education, and infrastructure create political tension in certain areas. Decentralization has improved local governments, but also allowed political corruption to emerge at the regional level. Maintaining national unity requires fair distribution of resources, strong governance, and inclusive policies that accommodate regional differences.
Uh, Considering uh, Indonesia vast diversity, is national political integration still a challenge?
But
Identity political frequently surface during election. Is it harmful?
identity politics can be both beneficially and harmful. It can empower marginalized groups and highlight presentation issues, but between used irresponsibly, it becomes divisive and dangerous. Dangerous. It can deepen polarization, weaken social cohesion, and overshadow policy-based discussions. Political actors must be cautious in using identity narrative, and the public must be educated to avoid manipulation.
In your opinion, where is Indonesia democracy heading?
I'm cautiously optimistic. Indonesia has young people, increasing political awareness, and a growing middle class. These are positive signs. However, democratic resilience depends on strengthening institutions, promoting transparency, ensuring fair election, and expanding civic education. The future of democracy relies heavily on the commitment of citizens and political leaders to uphold democratic values.
As a final question, what advice would you give to students who might become future leaders?
Study politics not only from social media but from credible sources. engage in discussions and organization that build leadership skill, develop critical thinking, and maintain integrity. Politics should be grounded in ethics, empathy, and service the public. Young people must prepare themselves as responsible leaders who prioritize the nation's interest above personal gain.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir. Your explanation have been incredibly detailed and insightful. This interview will greatly support my assessment.
You're welcome, Siti Mudrika. I'm glad I could contribute. Good luck with your study.
All right, everyone. That is the end of our interview. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you find this video helpful. See you in the next time video.
Ngày vô nhà thương, ngày vô nhà thương, ngày vô nhà anh biết thương. Giây phút em gặp anh là em biết em si tình.